All right, everybody, welcome back to the Beans No Ball podcast. Welcome to the 12th episode in this 2022 season that we got going. So let's not make it wait any longer. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, so we just finished week 10 of the 2022-2023 NFL season, moving on to week 11. I'm not gonna lie, the season's moving pretty fast, I just remember our first episode like it was just yesterday, going on with this. It seems pretty weird, but we're back here with another episode. It's going well. So obviously, y'all know the drill once again. We're gonna go over the week 10 recap, and then we're gonna move right along to the week 11 predictions. Obviously, going over how our predictions are so far. Last week's are pretty well. This week's technically, but we had some pretty bad predictions. But honestly, let's just move right ahead and let's get along. So let's start off the first game, our Thursday nighter, which was probably the not a big surprise, but a somewhat like decent surprise. The Falcons at the Panthers. I think me and you both chose the Falcons, and the Panthers came away with this one. This was kind of embarrassing for Marcus Mariota. He had a pretty bad game in general. He did me good in fantasy. He got me 17 points, but with that bad performance, especially that pick he threw, did that pick stand or was that called back? I don't know.
I mean, he was down, but
That's right. He was down.
It looked funky regardless.
Yeah, I was just like, there's no way he's getting away with this performance. I don't know if he did it on purpose to try and get Desmond Ridder in, but it just looked bad on his hand. The Panthers, on the other hand, though, I mean, they looked pretty decent. I mean, it was neck to neck. I mean, it was a 10-point game, but the fourth quarter, they were both tied at points, 6-6. But the Falcons just couldn't get anything done. Mariota, especially with the past games he's been doing, Mariota has been doing pretty good, but he just this game he just really shit the bucket on this one. But Panthers, they honestly they look pretty good, but I mean I really doubt they're trying to sneak their way into the top of the NFC South. I mean Donta Foreman though, he had another great game, 31 carries, 130 yards and a touchdown. So bright spot for Carolina as of right now after the departure of Christian McCaffrey being traded. So I guess they're really good with their running back positions, but as of right now, their quarterback situation is still there iffy.
Yeah, I mean you took it off for the most part. It was obviously the quarterback play is what is mainly holding back the Panthers. They have a honestly a solid team, pretty good defense for the most part. But yeah, I mean you see, I mean PJ Walker really is in a position to be a real starting quarterback, and obviously we know how the Baker experiment has been. So that's just gonna be another need to look into in this offseason. And I mean, yeah, just for the most part, you see the Falcons had opportunities to win this game throughout. I mean, to start, to end really the last drive after they forced a 3-and-out that I think only like 17 seconds went off the clock on that. I think the second to last possession for the Panthers, the Falcons should have been able to drive and I mean possibly get a touchdown to take the lead, but I think they ended up getting like negative 15 yards on that drive, and in the end the Panthers got a field goal to just really ice it out. But I mean overall it was just another one of those boring Thursday night games, not really that meaningful. Who knows though when in the end, just because of how weird the NFC South has been. But I mean, yeah, for the most part, pretty subpar average game. So let's move on into the Sunday slate, which kick it off with our first ever Germany game, which it was pretty interesting. Obviously, another disappointment for our predictions. We both took the Seahawks, and Gino just really couldn't get anything going until really the fourth quarter, when I mean he strung together a couple good drives that obviously he ended up getting two nice touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but obviously it was too late at that point. And I mean Brady looked pretty good. Obviously now he had that game against the Rams last week, and now a pretty good performance here, just really getting the ball around was it Julio Jones and Mike Evans, some pretty decent touchdowns there, and also their rookie running back White, man, I mean 22 carries, 105 yards. I do remember, I think he on the season he only had about 87 yards, and now obviously 105, really a breakout game here. So who knows if he can step up and get a bigger role now with, I mean, Leonard Fournette, who knows how he's looking, and obviously Aaron Jones not really doing much. So, or not Aaron Jones, but the other running back, yeah. But the running back position's been looking a little bleak for them. So now with White, it could be on the up for the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, it was indeed a surprising game. I really thought that the Seahawks were going to walk away with this one. Obviously, with the way Gino's been performing, but I mean, this game was just really disappointing by Gino. Because don't get me wrong, the other weeks Gino's been putting on a show for everybody, but this game, I wouldn't say it showed that he's overrated, but I feel like it was just I would say just another bad game for him. I mean, the Seahawks, I mean, they're 6-4 right now. They're on the top of the West. I would assume. I think in the NFC West. Yeah, they're still on the top. Their only competition is the 49ers. But other than that, I mean, Seahawks still potential for the Seahawks. I mean, the Bucks, they're looking to turn it around. I mean, like you said, White had a nice breakout game today. Godwin, obviously getting involved still with 71 yards and a touchdown. 6 catches, which is for those. Excuse me. But I mean, regardless, the Bucks, I mean, they seem to be getting back in their groove again. The Seahawks, I mean, hopefully Gino bounces back from this. I would assume he will. So I wouldn't worry too much if I'm a Seahawks fan. I mean, they're 6-4, so I would just keep it smooth with how they are right now, because I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll finish strong. Closing the season. Now, moving on to our next 10 a.m. game, which is probably, without a doubt, the game of the year. The Vikings at the Bills. Now, this game was crazy towards the end, but let's talk about the Bills real quick. They were up 17 points in the second half. They're up 17, and they choked that lead. Ended up losing 33-30 in overtime with game-winning field goal to the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, this was an outstanding game for Kirk Cousins. Regarding of the miscues and all these bad throws, most of the bad throws he was making in the first half, he had a great game overall. I mean, he completed 30 of his 50 passes, 357 yards, and a touchdown. And Dalvin Cook obviously getting involved that one big touchdown run he had. I think it was 71 yards or around there, 70-something yards. But that honestly would change the momentum for the Vikings. The 119 yards and a touchdown. It was really great. Get that run game really got going. I was talking about Justin Jefferson. 10 catches, 193 yards, and a touchdown. The highlight of the day was that one-handed catch on 4th down to save the Vikings. When I saw that play, I was in awe, because that play literally determined if the Vikings had a chance or not. And after he completed that, there's just no way the Vikings could lose this. Even after scoring, and they couldn't get it, the Bills fumble on the 1-yard line. And once again, the whole momentum changes, and the Vikings score once again. Bills still managed to tie the game with the field goal, but I mean, Josh Allen ended up throwing that one pick at the end zone in overtime, and Vikings marched down the field and won in the game-winning field goal. So it was an outstanding game. But once again, I would not say lousy, but it was a pretty disappointing game by Josh Allen. It looked like 2018 Josh Allen once again. It didn't look too well, but I mean, he'll bounce back. I mean, after each loss, they seem to bounce back, but they're 6-3. They're still good, and I don't think they're one in the East, somewhere in the AFC. I think they're second. Yeah, the Jets are on top. So right now, I mean, the Bills, they're still Vikings. Probably, I would after Philly's loss. So we'll get into that one later. But I would say Vikings are probably the team to beat in the NFC.
Yeah, that's basically what I've been saying ever since. Obviously, my early prediction with the Rams being on top in the NFC dwindled pretty quickly. I basically kind of kept riding on the Vikings to be my top team in the in the NFC, despite how dominant the Eagles had looked for the most part. But yeah, this just showed another reason why the Vikings really should be considered the top dog in the NFC. Just uh, they were down and out, like you said, down 17, and all of a sudden they just had this resurgence, and just against a Bills team, which just to think about them, I don't know, alarms could be sounding at this point, just the way, last week it was a decent team, obviously, with the Jets, but it was an ugly loss, like you're saying. Josh Allen not looking as good as he usually does, and now in this one, just another ugly game for Josh Allen. It could be a little alarming. Far from your prediction of them missing out on the playoffs, but it's at this point they might not win the East with how the Dolphins are looking, and it could get tough for them. But the main story here was just great game for Kirk Cousins, and obviously Justin Jefferson, the story with that catch, and just it's really good for Vikings. Sure they did get somewhat lucky, if you want to call it, just because of their, I guess, that fumble. Like who would have expected that to ever happen? But still, just great. They took advantage when it mattered, and just they're 8-1. Yeah, to me, easily the best team in the NFC. And move on from that, we got another really surprising game, and a game that we kind of thought, we just brushed it off and assumed it would be an easy win for the Bears, but the Lions came out on top in this one after, well, the real reason was the missed extra point. But let's just really get into it. It was pretty slow and somewhat boring from the start. It was 10-10 at half, nothing too much, but the Bears did take a quick 14-point lead going, in the third quarter, going into the fourth. And at that point, Jared Goff really turned it up. He got them 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, which just those signs of how he can really he can turn it up when it matters. And we saw that in the Packers game, and obviously here we see it. Sure, was it Justin Fields, a little good and bad. He threw a pick 6 to his former Ohio State teammate in Jeff Okudah, but right after that he bursts out on another 60+ yard run, and obviously for a touchdown. So that was to take a 30-24 lead, but the missed extra point, that's what ended up killing them, because the Lions did drive down, get their touchdown. They did get the extra point, and that was the difference. So just really unfortunate the way it had to go for the Bears. It's just unfortunate for Fields. He's really balling out, and his team keeps disappointing him. So it's more them beating themselves, but hey, good win for the Lions overall.
Yeah, you pretty much wrapped them one up great, pretty much. But yeah, it was I'll say it was another shocking win for us, because we thought the Bears weren't going to win this, like you said. But the Lions, they stayed with their big heart, and it really came down to the fourth quarter. The Lions pretty much they scored 3 touchdowns. They're around there, 21 points, while the Bears scored 6. So the fourth quarter really depicted the outcome, and yes, that extra point did kill the Bears. It really killed them bad, because they ended up losing by 1. If anything, this game most likely would have gone into overtime if it wasn't for that missed PAT. But Jared Goff, he came back in the fourth, obviously, and then he led them to a win. Justin Fields, he's looking good again. He's good on the run, but the passing game is just he just needs to improve a lot in the passing game, because right now the run game and rushing is what's pretty much helping him as of right now. So he still needs to work on passing. But Amari St. Brown, on the other hand, got another great game. 10 catches for 119 yards. Really helped the Lions. No touchdowns, but still a big game for him. Other than that, it was another great win for the Lions. Hopefully they can make a push to the playoffs, but it's going to take a lot of heart in order for them to do that. Now moving on to the next game, which is a pretty pretty confusing game. The Broncos at the Titans. It was a one-score game, 10-17. Titans ended up winning this. Russell Wilson, I mean, doing with Russell Wilson, I mean, he still managed to get 286 yards and a touchdown, but really didn't help him at all. Derrick Henry had a pretty mid-game, 19 carries for 53 yards. Pretty surprising that with those numbers, Titans still came away with this. And Westbrook, man, from the Titans, 5 catches, 119 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It was a good game for him. I think that's what they depicted the Titans winning, because the Broncos, I mean, they were up 10-7 at halftime, so it was going to be confusing on whether the Titans were able to came back, especially with I would say lack of production from Derrick Henry. But after half, Broncos just couldn't get anything. It was pretty much the Titans half. Fourth quarter was probably really boring. Titans still came away with 3 points. The Russell Wilson and that offense, they really couldn't hold it down. This was pretty much a defensive battle both ways towards the fourth. And, Russell Wilson, I mean, they're still trying to find that offense, but I mean, hey, it's going to be week 11 and they haven't found anything yet. They haven't clicked at all. And it's really disappointing, and it's quite embarrassing that the Broncos gave up so much for him to lack production. So, I mean, obviously, from looking at it, the Seahawks basically won this trade, but other than that, Broncos obviously look bad once again, and Titans making a run in that AFC.
Yeah. I'm not really gonna say too much more though. That was, I mean, like you said, it was a pretty straightforward game, pretty lackluster. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the main thing in this was the receiving performance from Nick Westbrook. He had that, what was it, like a 60-70 yard catch from Ryan Tannehill, which that obviously was the difference in a 7-point game. But yeah, just more disappointment for the Broncos, and I mean, what more can you say? So yeah, they dropped to 3-6. I mean, they're gonna have a game against the other lowly AFC West team in the Raiders next week, so we'll see how that goes. But it's it was a pretty underwhelming game, how it would have been expected. So move right on to another game that this one was kind of, I mean, expected this way. The Jaguars and the Chiefs, probably would have expected it to be a little more of a margin, but still it was pretty good. I mean, honestly, the Jaguars put up more of a fight than I would have imagined. They just 27-17, but it could have been a lot closer when you take into account that the turnover that the Jaguars got to end the second half. They could have got a field goal, but missed. I think it was a 40-yarder, so that's doable, and they missed it. So that would have been 3 more points there. And then you think, I think in the third quarter they settled for a field goal when they could have had a pretty good touchdown. So that's more points that they're giving up. But still, overall, it's just the Chiefs with Mahomes. He just has that connection. Obviously, another touchdown to Travis Kelce, and he also got a Kadarius Toney involved in this one. So obviously we see that's probably going to be a pretty big connection now with Juju going down in this game. So it's going to be, it's a big help for the Chiefs that they were able to make this deal. But yeah, not much more else to say. Just the Chiefs moved to 7-2. Just they keep rolling as we expect them. So they're firm on top of the AFC West, and it's just another Mahomes game. What more can you say?
Yeah, you pretty much summed it up right there, so I'm not going to get into it once again. But yeah, it was just I mean, I was still surprising that the Jaguars still managed to put up somewhat of a fight. I mean, at halftime, they're only down what's it called? It was 20-7. They're only down 13 points. So I mean, realistically, that wasn't that bad. There was only 2 possessions. I would not have expected them to be down at that by, I wouldn't say a lot, but pretty decently little. And then at halftime, I guess they could have changed it around, but I mean, at halftime the Jaguars outscored the Chiefs, but I mean, they really couldn't get anything going after a touchdown in the fourth. I mean, it was pretty much a little too late. They couldn't do anything. The Jaguars, they had some hope in the beginning of the season, but now it's just something just clicked in a negative way. They just couldn't get anything done. But Other than that, it was just another fantastic game by Mahomes, doing what Mahomes does the best, putting on those outstanding numbers. Great win by the Chiefs, and yeah, Chiefs look like probably the top of the AFC so far, and I guess probably the team to beat once again in probably the excuse me, probably in the playoffs. So we just gotta see what that is. And Jaguars, it's looking pretty abysmal right now. And then moving on to the next game, which is a pretty not nice blowout. The Browns at the Dolphins. Tua stays hot, and he threw 3 touchdowns. Those connections with those receivers and Tua finally getting that chemistry with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle finally stuck. It's still stuck even after his injury, and Tua finally getting MVP chance. So I guess Tua now he's entering the MVP conversation, whether he should win or not. And in my honest opinion, I feel like he would be probably the runner-up for the MVP because with the way Josh Allen's playing right now, I think his only competition right now would be Jalen Hurts for MVP. But if Tua can keep up this gameplay, what he's doing, if there's like no miscues, he doesn't have bad games closing out the season, Tua can possibly win MVP and prove everybody wrong, saying that he was going to be a bust, that he was not worth being that quarterback for the Dolphins. And if that ends up being MVP for Tua, it would probably be amazing for him. And who knows, they could probably make a push for the championship, maybe Super Bowl. This is another team to beat in the AFC East. This is a very hard team to beat with those weapons on both sides of the ball. With the Browns on the other side, it was a pretty bad game for the Browns overall. It was pretty much ugly to begin with. I mean, it was 17-7.5. It was a 10-point game, but after that, pretty much in the third quarter, they couldn't get anything done. Neither in the fourth. Dolphins just kept scoring back and forth, and it's pretty good for the Dolphins right now. But Browns not looking good once again.
Yeah, you basically covered that. It was a pretty disappointing game for the Browns. Obviously, we kind of got used to seeing how good Jacoby Brissett has been in the absence of Deshaun, but at this point they're kind of just waiting for Deshaun to come back just for their sake. I mean, you would think he's gonna make a pretty positive impact on this Browns team because I mean they got talent. Obviously, we've seen that throughout this season, and they probably will bounce back pretty good once week 13 rolls around and they get their starter. So, but I mean, apart from that, just about the MVP conversation, it's pretty wide open if you really think about it. I mean, with obviously at first it was really just Jalen Hurts really running away with it, but right now you see the Eagles were kind of exposed, and I mean you see how. I mean, their schedule's still pretty easy coming up, but you got to think there's a couple more losses, a couple more ugly games to go there, so his value is probably going to drop a bit. You see, obviously, Josh Allen not really surprising this season either with a couple bad games. Geno's probably going to start tanking a bit, so who knows if Tua can really keep this up. You would think the games he missed with injury could hurt his chances that he's playing less, but still, if he keeps it up, I would not doubt him being an MVP candidate as well. And I mean, I would love to see that. Obviously, you know how high we both are on him and how great of a quarterback he is. I mean, he's proved it this year. Obviously, real big coming out party, and it would be nice to see if he just keeps this up. But apart from that, let's move on to another one of our early games. I think one of our last ones. This was the Texans at the Giants. Obviously, we both took the Giants because of how they're looking, how the Texans are looking. It was a little closer than we probably would have expected. Just the Giants didn't get too much going. I mean, Saquon did have a pretty good game, 152 yards and a touchdown on 35 carries. But I mean, it didn't take much. Of course, it was Saquon's touchdown, another two to really pile on, and a field goal to top it off for the Giants scoring. And I mean, the Texans, they were hanging on. It was 7-3 at half. They did get a touchdown and got another 6 points in the fourth, but it just wasn't enough. And this was as expected, really. But obviously the big story, the Giants go to 7-2. they keep pace and stay in second place in the NFC East, and obviously that really tough division. And just I mean, overall, not much else to say, but a really good game for the Giants, regardless.
You pretty much excuse me, you pretty much covered it already. I'm pretty shocked that it was still managed to be a close game. It was only an 8-point game, one possession basically. Well, obviously it was the obvious call to go with the Giants, but honestly, in my opinion, it should not have been this close. I mean, so surprisingly, Texans, most of their losses have been pretty close, but they just can't finish. I mean, David Mills, I mean, regardless of how he's looking right now, I mean, 319 yards and a touchdown. I mean, I still wouldn't consider him as the QB for the Texans, you know. Just a substitution for Watson. I don't think it's going to play a big part in the near future, but for the Giants, it's looking scary for them. Well, in a way that they're doing well. 7-2, second in the East, so I should be pretty worried, especially with my Cowboys, but obviously I'll get into that in a bit. But the Giants looking good. It's tough to say that they are, but it's the reality. It's 7-2. Saquon probably run up for comeback player of the year. Obviously that big game he had. Same with Darius Slayton. Really showed out. 3 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. So I mean, Giants looking scary, and pretty much that's another team to be in the NFC. And then moving right along, which is a pretty so I would say decent game, but the Saints at the Steelers. Saints really fell short once again. 10 points after halftime. They couldn't get anything done. It was tied, and really, Andy Dalton just couldn't do anything, man. It kind of sucks, man, because I like Andy Dalton as a person, but as a player, like, he just can't finish. I would know, especially with this time with the Cowboys, he would have a good game, bad game, bad game, bad game, good game, good game, bad game. He'd just be really inconsistent, and it really hurt. It really did hurt because with Jameis Winston's injury, Jameis Winston did have hope for the Saints, and it looked really good for the Saints. But after his injury, Andy Dalton had to step in. It just didn't look well. The Steelers, Kenny Pickett, he had an okay game. It was better than what he usually played. 18 passes for 30 attempts, 119 yards. Najee Harris was 1 yard shy of 100 yards. That's a pretty bland. That's like a ugly stat to look at. It's just like if you have OCD, it'll just hurt you. But he had a great game. So did Deontay Johnson, 4 catches, 60 yards. So not a bad game. It was a pretty boring game overall. But I mean, I guess having TJ Watt now does make a difference to these Steelers.
Yeah, you really covered it well. There was obviously we expected the Saints to win. It's pretty evenly matched if you really think about it. Just two really disappointing teams coming into this. But I mean, I really wouldn't have expected the Steelers to win just in their position. But I mean, you really think about it, and yeah, both teams not really at their best, but just it could be somewhat of a silver lining for the Steelers. Just I mean, it gives Kenny Pickett a little bit of confidence. It obviously just a lot with that young team, and they're just it's helping them overall. It's obviously not going to be anything towards this season, but towards the future, it's something that can, games like this can really really push a team for, to the chemistry wise and all that. And I mean, just another little tidbit of information. This win against the Saints does give Mike Tomlin his first ever win against the Saints, and that completing all 31 teams, just obviously except the Steelers, because he's always coached them, but he has beat 31 of the 32 teams now, so pretty big accomplishment for him in his illustrious career. And moving right along, we got another pretty surprising game. A lot to talk about here with the Colts at the Las Vegas Raiders. Jeff Saturday, in his NFL coaching debut, he got the win. He got just a pretty lackluster game overall, but still it was just great. Matt Ryan did get his starting job back over Sam Ehlinger, but just a great game. It was pretty back and forth overall, but then once Jonathan Taylor got that 66-yard touchdown run. I think that kind of set the tone, and from that point, I don't think the Colts trailed anymore. But it was just a really good game overall. I mean, it's his first game. Can't really say much, but it looks like Jeff Saturday did have a pretty good impact on these players, and we'll see how the Colts can keep going from here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably go a little more into this game, but it was just another embarrassing loss for the Raiders. How are you going to lose to a first year coach that's really filling in for the actual head coach position? I mean, Jeff Saturday. And let's look back again. He tweeted saying that the Raiders looked horrible, or I don't know exactly what he said, but he said that it looked really like it was 3 words. I don't know how I can't remember.
Raiders look horrible. Yeah.
Raiders look horrible. Is that,
Raiders look horrible.
Raiders look horrible.
He proved it.
He lived up. He's a man of his word, and he beat the Raiders 25-20. He's undefeated. Let's just say that. But I mean, Jonathan Taylor. I've been looking at him. He hasn't been doing well this season, but this game, he really bounced back. Jonathan Taylor we saw from last season. But these Raiders, man, I mean, we already saw how emotional Derek Carr got, and I don't blame him. It's a sport, he loves it, and really, it's the Josh McDaniel effect, because I already knew the Raiders were going to struggle this coming season, and look at me now, I'm right. They're 2-7, but it was just embarrassing, man. I don't know how Raiders fans are feeling, and really that homecoming to Vegas, it's not looking well for them. All right, now moving on to my game. I'm going to keep this as brief as possible because I'm still pretty depressed and angry about this game that we should have won. So, without further ado, my Cowboys visit the Packers at Lambeau Field. We lose in overtime by 3. So much in this game happened that should not have happened. All right, we started rocky. All right, Dak's 2 picks, and I will keep saying this. Regardless of those 2 picks, everyone keeps blaming Dak when it clearly was not his fault. The first pick shows he should have ran more to the top to clear the safety out for CD. Obviously, he was still down. The safety was there to throw the pick. Second pick, CD just flew past the safety without knowing. Obviously, Dak right through him. So it was both of them wasn't around Dak's fault. It was bad routes ran by the receivers. But obviously, after that at halftime, we got our groove back. The Dak and CD connections finally starting to cook up. So I'm really expecting a lot of chemistry between these two in these upcoming games to finish strong, especially in our tough division. We're up 14 points in the fourth quarter. We decide not to run the ball whatsoever. We have Tony Pollard in the backfield, and we have Malik Davis, who is proving to be a pretty decent running back. We kept passing when we're up 14 yards. This is bad coaching, and this is bad clock management. Of 14, we choked that. We choked that lead, and in the fourth and overtime, we get the ball. We're running. The flags. Jalen Tolbert. I had such high hopes for this kid coming in. But that offside penalty. Look, I understand offsides are common, all right? But on offense, how can you clearly be offside on offense? All you have to do is look at the ball. He was clearly offside by a mile. And his lousy excuse was saying, I looked at the ref. He said I was good. That doesn't matter. Look at the damn ball. Obviously, the holding, all that stuff. We realistically, if we had committed no flags on that overtime drive, if we committed no flags, we would have won that game. If we just kept the running game going, it would have been game. And Christian Watkins, who is this guy? Nobody. He just decides to go off against the Cowboys? That's crazy. Like, NFL scriptwriters are going insane right now. All right? He just decides to cook our undrafted rookie and our second year player who has no experience at all. All right? Look, I understand Anthony Brown is not the best and he has not been doing well, but it really hurt our secondary regardless, even with the absence of Jordan Lewis. I love Jordan Lewis since we drafted him in 2017. But it just hurt. And I don't understand. Diggs was literally locking up Lazard, okay? Allen freaking Lizard. Diggs was locking him up. Why the hell did we not put him on Christian Watkins to close out the game? I don't understand. Diggs was only targeted twice that game. Twice. The lowest in his career. This shows the improvement. And it hurts me so much. I wanted to cry so bad in my room. I said I was gonna keep it brief, but I was wrong. I lied. I'm still upset. Ugh! And I'm not even done. I am not done. Oh my god. It still angers me. We should have won that game. McCarthy, oh no. I'm really upset. While like, no matter how bad the Packers are, no matter how bad they could be, they could be 0-7 and then they'll just beat us and the Bears. I don't understand. I don't understand. We can't. I have to live. I wake up every morning knowing Rodgers owns our franchise. I just have to say it's the truth. I cannot say anything about that. But why does it have to be the game where Rodgers finally decides to be good and that one rando ass receiver decides to pop off? Mark my words right now. Christian Watkins, he's gonna go back to being trash next week. Mark my words right now. If he proves me wrong, I'll take my L like a man and I'll move right along. That rush defense, horrendous. I want it fixed somehow. I don't know how. I just want it fixed. This literally proves now that we need to sign another receiver. Even though OBJ wants $20 million, I don't know about that. That was my rant. David, I don't know if you want to add on.
Yeah, I mean, I won't add on much. I mean, most of what you said, that's basically it and more than I would have ever said. Obviously, I would have expected the Cowboys to win this game too. It was a surprise to me. Just it was a surprise to me that they even got to overtime. What were you guys up 14 at one point? It was
we were up
14 at one point.
We were up 28-14.
I was pretty shocked getting out of the game when I saw that they were going to overtime, and and ended up on just the game-winning field goal. But I mean, yeah, not much else to say. It was a surprising loss, but I mean, yeah, in my opinion, the Cowboys will bounce back. I mean, they got a rough schedule, obviously. We'll see how they go. But yeah, let's move on. My game, just more disappointment. I got to see it live. I did end up going to this game. Went with my dad. It was sure it's a wonderful experience every time you get to go to SoFi Stadium, but man, what an awful game. It's you expect this team to win against the Cardinals. You always expect them to. McVay usually owns Cliff Kingsbury. Not this time, apparently. We haven't beat the Cardinals at home since the John Wolford game in 2020. I mean, that one it was probably just a fluke game. He had those two good games, that game and the playoff game. He started and played like 3 drives until Jamal Adams took off his head and made Jared Goff come back in, which we won that game. I'm not gonna say nothing, but it was a game of backups. You got John Wolford, who I was usually high on, not anymore. He's awful. We need a new backup. And then obviously Colt McCoy of the Cardinals. I expected great things. I expected our defense to really cook McCoy. Wasn't expecting much out of him, and he ends up absolutely destroying us. He got everyone. I mean, the defense really didn't get to him. I think we got like maybe 1 or 2 sacks, and the receivers were running crazy on us. You see, Ramsey got cooked by Hopkins at least twice. I can remember, and we let the living fossil AJ Green absolutely moss. I think it was Darian Kendrick. I don't remember who it was, but it was just ugly seeing that touchdown, in person, obviously. And I'm not gonna take this game too serious just because it was John Wolford at the quarterback. I mean, sure, the way Stafford is this season, it's not going to be much better with him, but man, Wolford's just bad. I can't really say much else. It was there was at least, I want to say, like 6 or 7 passes that I can remember. We could have had easy first down yardage, possibly touchdowns with how wide open the Cardinals left the field for us. And just for whatever, John Wolford's accuracy is like 10 times worse than Stafford's this season. He had wide open receivers, throws it at least 3 feet above him. The Cooper Kupp injury would have been avoided if either John Wolford could just throw the ball in his hands, because Kupp did not have to jump for that. It was like 4 feet above him, and him just being the team player he is, he goes up for it, opens himself up for the hit, and he came down hard on his ankle, and now he's on IR. He's going to be out for a minimum of 4 weeks, so that really kills the season even more right there. Because I mean, now what do we have? I mean, gotta force Stafford to actually throw the ball to Allen Robinson now. I mean, maybe now you really hope some miracle can happen that we can get OBJ back, but obviously I'm not expecting that. But the main thing here, like, I'm not even gonna say much with Wolford. He's the backup. What else can you say? I'm mainly pretty pissed about the defense, how they let Colt McCoy. You let Colt McCoy absolutely cook you. That's just pretty disappointing. But at this point, I've just come to expect this team to disappoint this year. Just get this season over with. Start rebuilding towards hopefully 2025. Because with our draft picks, we're not going to be contending for a good while. But so I'm gonna end my rant right there. I guess if you want to add on anything.
And yeah, I mean, you covered it pretty well. But just another things like you said, yeah, you guys got no draft picks for the upcoming years. I think I don't know if it's until 2025 or more, but I really doubt with that team right now. If it stays this team for the next couple of years, I really doubt you guys are gonna make any progress at all whatsoever. McVay's probably gonna be gone 2 years from now, depending if the Rams can turn around next year. But from the looks of it, it looks like their season's over. The Cardinals, and they called me a madman. They called me a madman for picking the Cardinals.
Not really. I mean, if you think about it, you see this one.
Called me a madman.
You can't compare this to the Lions prediction. That one's
that line, I still can't. I gotta admit that was good, but I mean, like you're still kind of iffy with me that I picked the Cardinals. But
no, I would not be mad at you. I only picked the Rams because that's my team. Cardinals full well. Go ahead. That's not even an upset.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered it. I mean, the Cardinals still look like they have some hope so far to possibly make the 7th seed, but really, really, really doubt that. I mean, with D-Hop, he did well, 2 yards shy of 200. I'm sorry, not Kyler. He didn't even play. Colt McCoy, the other living fossil, Colt McCoy, he had a great game. Really outplayed John Wolford by a lot. So this was a really bad game by the Rams. For the looks of it, their season's done. Now moving on to our next game, which is another really disappointing game. The Chargers at the Niners. The Niners' performance did absolutely amazing. Jimmy Garoppolo, despite not throwing a touchdown pass, still managed to complete 19 for 28 attempts and 240 yards. So it's a pretty average game. Elijah Mitchell had a great game on the ground, 18 carries, 89 yards. Brandon Ayuk, another great game in the air, 6 catches, 84 yards. So that offense is really going. That defense of the 49ers really stepped up. The Chargers, just once again, inconsistency. I can't even speak, and I'm like inconsistency of the Chargers. I'm sorry. The Chargers not being consistent. Once again, they're 5-4. I think they're on a 2-game losing streak. I think, or is this?
Yeah, two at least. Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah. Well, they're 5-4 and pretty not bad, but against the Niners, it could have been both ways. But I mean, obviously, I chose the Chargers. So it looked really bad on the Chargers' part. Justin Herbert, I really like Justin Herbert, but he still has a lot to prove. He really still has a lot to prove. Until he gets to the playoffs and he shows, it could possibly be this season, but until he gets to the playoffs and shows that he's a competent quarterback, as of right now, he still has a lot to prove to these Chargers and to the whole league in general. But I feel like he can pull it away. That second half really wasn't their game. They were only down, what was it? They were only down a couple points at halftime. They were only down not 4 points. I'm sorry. They weren't even down. They're actually up at halftime. They were up 16-10. They're up 6 points. And then in the second half, I don't know what happened. They really couldn't get anything done. The Niners really just took over. And honestly, the Niners, they're looking pretty well, so they could possibly make a bigger push into the playoffs.
I mean, you see in that division, the Niners obviously have a shot. I mean, who knows how much the Seahawks can contain this run they're going right now, but Just for the most part, yeah. The Chargers just completely imploded in the second half, not getting any points, and the 12 points the Niners ended up getting was obviously enough, and it was just disappointing. The Chargers, I mean, you could look at it two ways. Just from what the Chargers do have still, it is disappointing. But then you take into account the injuries that they've sustained. J.C. Jackson on the defense, and obviously Mike Williams, who's probably one of their key targets. You see Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen hasn't even gotten to play this year, so it's. I mean, Herbert is missing his two best targets, and I mean that's obviously gonna be a factor. But you see Herbert as obviously a top 10 quarterback, possibly top 5 in to some people, but it's you would expect him to be able to improvise at least against a Niners team who, let's be honest, isn't really that good. Obviously, they'll always show out against my Rams, and that's about it. That's basically the only team they can really beat every day in and day out. But yeah, the Niners are nothing special, and you would think the Chargers could come away. We still took the Niners overall because we know the Chargers have been inconsistent, and we went with that. But I mean, I would have still liked to see the Chargers come out on top, and it looked like that at first, but it was just a poor second half. Really messed it up for them, and that's just how it turned out. So we'll just move on to our last game in our recap of Week 10, the Monday Nighter. This one was the surprise of the week. What can you say, man? The Commanders finally took down the Eagles. First loss of the year, 8-1 now, 32-21. The Commanders led almost the whole way. After the Eagles took a 14-7 lead in the first quarter, the Commanders went, I believe, 16 points unanswered between the second and third. This was the first game that the Eagles were trailing at halftime, and obviously in the third quarter, the first time they were trailing. And it just snowballed from there. I mean, sure, say what you want about the refs. I mean, I always say this. I mean, you're always gonna get shitty refs in the NFL, but it was pretty bad. You see, after Garner Johnson got a nice interception off of Heineke, almost right away. I believe it was Dallas Goedert had he fumbled, but there was a pretty blatant face mask that the refs missed. That was a big call. The Commanders did end up getting points on that play, and I mean on that drive after the turnover. And I mean, I guess you look at the hit on Taylor Heineke. Some would say that it wasn't roughing the passer, but I mean, realistically, that one you can't really say much. He had already given himself up, and Brandon Graham just came in and hit him for no reason. They would have gotten the ball back, possible chance to get more points, but just like that, it allowed the Commanders to keep the ball, and then in the end, Philly got the ball back and fumbled and allowed a touchdown on that little flea flicker whatever play that they were trying to run it out. But yeah, just real surprising. I mean, you see the Commanders back in 2020 when they're still a Washington football team. They took down the 11-0 Steelers. Now they take down the 8-0 Eagles. So they got a nice little track record on undefeated teams. So I mean, I still see the Eagles bouncing back from this, especially with this incredibly easy schedule they got. Probably only see them dropping 2-3 games from here on out, but they'll probably really get exposed at some point in the playoffs, realistically.
Yeah, right there, that statement right there, I'm gonna have to really agree with you a lot. I do feel like they will get exposed in the playoffs, just like the Steelers did. In 20, was it really 2020? It was 2020. You are correct. It was 2020. I never realized it was that late, but yeah, I do think it was their exposed because think about it. Most of the Eagles, they've really only beat 2 competent teams: the Vikings in primetime, and then the Cowboys led by Cooper Rush. That's really the only teams that really look good in their winning column. But I mean, regardless, 8-1 is 8-1. Say what you want, me as a Cowboys fan defending that, but they're 8-1 regardless. Really, I mean, it's not impressive in a stance of the great team they played, but like you said, Washington just has a thing with beating undefeated teams. So I mean, Washington against the East. Once again, I wouldn't be scared of the Commanders because I do feel that we'll still beat them. I do feel like we could finish out with the wins against the rest of the East. You know, we got one more game. Cowboys got one more game against these teams. I do feel we'll beat the Giants. I do feel we'll beat the Commanders, and I do feel that we will beat Philly. Beating Philly, especially on Week 16, which is come close to playoff time, will be extremely important standings. I really hope Philly struggles bad. I'm really praying on that, and somehow the Cowboys could possibly win out. It is very possible that we could win out, probably take first. But we're gonna literally need to ask for a lot. But it was just again, it was a really poor officiated game, regardless. But I mean, Commanders still came out on top and really stunned these undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Now, obviously, that pretty much wraps up again. The teams that we're on by were the Bengals, Patriots, Jets, and Ravens. Really, we're not gonna go back with these 4 teams. Really, all much we can say is these are pretty. These teams are obviously doing well. Surprising that it's 4 good teams on by. So I'm not else much to say, but they're obviously doing well. So we're not gonna get too deep into that. So that concludes the week 10 recap. So now we're gonna be moving right along to the week 11 prediction. David, would you like to kick it off with our Thursday nighter?
Before we kick off our predictions, let's look at how we did in our week 10 predictions. Pretty subpar for our standards. Still, I mean, our record's still pretty good, but Christian, you went 6-8, I went 5-9. Just a slight upper hand, but you know, obviously with that Cardinals, the Cardinals Rams game was basically the difference there.
That game six.
So I mean, yeah, you're up to 83 and 67. I'm 85 and 65. So you know, we're pretty good. I mean, a good 20 games above 500 for the both of us. Relatively good predictions. I mean, keep it going on that. I mean, we got pretty good calls so far. So as you know, we move on into week 11. We got 4 teams on bye this week, a little less than last. I think about the same as last week. We got the Jaguars, Dolphins, Seahawks, and Bucks. You know, the 2 teams in Germany coming back and get a week off. And you know, these other teams, obviously the main one you talk about is the Dolphins. Great team, but you know, they get their rest. So let's get it started here in our week 11 previews with a great Thursday night game for the Titans and Packers. It's, I mean, two teams that are coming off. Well, the Packers coming off a pretty big win, and the Titans coming off a pretty good win themselves. Struggling, a win that they struggled to get against a pretty poor team in the Broncos. I'm honestly still kind of torn about where to go with this, but if I'm being honest, I'm gonna have to go with the Packers. I was honestly, until now, I was leaning towards the Titans, but just seeing their position, I mean the main thing that would be Derrick Henry, but I don't really think that's going to be enough for the Titans to pull away. So I mean, at home in Lambeau, I'm gonna have to say Aaron Rodgers does just enough to beat the Titans.
Starting out with a disagreement right away. I'm going with Tennessee with this game. Not because I'm mad. I actually have reasoning for this. One, because the Green Bay Packers rush defense is obviously one of the worst in the league. Doesn't compare to the Cowboys, but the rush defense is pretty lackluster and it's pretty bad. And if Derrick Henry can get going in really early, I mean, I feel like this will be rough for Tennessee. Really, realistically, if the offense can really get going against these Packers, because that defense is iffy. Same with Tennessee defense. They can be hit or miss, but I feel like I'm with you saying this. If Christian Watson has a bad game, I will be undeniably upset for the rest of the month. I will. But that is my reasoning. If Derrick Henry can get going really early, once again, obviously, that's how the Tennessee works. I feel like they close out with the win against Green Bay. And I mean, thankfully, we don't get to see Broncos on Thursday night again. So that's a good sign, but we'll go with Tennessee. So now moving into our Sunday slate, our first 10 a.m. game, the Chicago Bears at the Atlanta Falcons. Realistically, this game could go one way, but I feel like this game, I feel like Chicago is going to take this game finally against Atlanta. We saw how Mariota plays. I don't want to say that Mariota, that game is going to depict how he plays for the rest of the season. But I feel like the way Chicago's run game is right now on offense, Justin Fields, he's not really good in the passing game. Really, him running is really carrying him. But I don't want to say it's going to be like another Lamar type player, gets criticized for his passing and then he proves everyone wrong. As of right now, his rush game is carrying him, man. But so they just can't finish, really. They really can't finish. That defense of Chicago is just something about him that really can't finish. But I feel like this is the game that Chicago wins, and they're going to pull this win at Atlanta.
Yeah, now we'll get our agreements back on. I'm gonna have to say the Bears as well. Just the way Justin Fields has been looking, I just don't think the rest of the Bears are gonna do enough to slow him down as much as they have been the past couple weeks. I'm pretty sure Fields does enough, and maybe even Chase Claypool can finally get going. You would think he's had a decent enough the way he's been playing ever since he got there. I think it's been 2 games, I believe 2 games that he has on this Bears team. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's you kind of basically said most of my reasoning for why the Bears would win this game. But yeah, it's gonna come down to Justin Fields, and when he's playing against a guy like Marcus Mariota, and you see how he played last Thursday, it's pretty easy for me to make this call for a Bears win. And we'll move on to another 10 a.m. game with the Browns at the Bills. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. You see the Bills coming off 2 really rough losses. Gonna have to say the Bills really come back strong. We said that last week about the Vikings game, but this one it's against Jacoby Brissett. We know how good he's been, in a little temporary role with the Browns, but it's Josh Allen. I'm pretty sure at least at this point against a Browns team. Sure, they have Nick Chubb who can go off at any time, but I just think Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen are gonna finally get it going in this game. I really don't see them losing 3 in a row, especially against the Browns. So give me the Bills in this game.
Yep, I got to agree with you again. This is going to be another bounce back game from Buffalo against the Browns. We see how bad the Browns are struggling right now. Jacoby Brissett, had good games here and there, but he really just can't finish. He's just another player that just can't finish the load for his team. And obviously not going to get more 2-2, but the Bills, they're going to come off with a great win here. Now moving on along to our next Sunday game, our next 10 a.m. game, but the Eagles at the Colts. This one, obviously, another pretty self-explanatory game. Philly is obviously going to get this win. We see how their remaining schedule is pretty easy, excluding 1 or 2 teams. But I got Philly winning this game at Indy, so not going to go further deep into that, but it just seems like the obvious call.
Yeah. Honestly, I am tempted to say Jeff Saturday pulls it out again, but can't really realistically say that. I'm gonna have to go with the Eagles as well. It's just I don't think Matt Ryan has 2 consecutive good games in him. Just the way he has looked this season. You see him play 1 good game, you think he's gonna start picking it up, and he ends up just probably going even worse the next week. So pretty easily I'll have the Eagles bouncing back, going to 9-1, and probably a really good bounce back game from Jalen Hurts. So now let's move on to the Jets at the Patriots. Another pretty big rivalry here. Now they head to Gillette Stadium. To me, it's might be a surprise to some, but I'm gonna have to go with the Jets here. I don't think they're gonna get swept by the Patriots again. It was a pretty ugly game for Zach Wilson, and I think he is gonna struggle again. He usually does. He still hasn't filled out that role yet, but I think the Jets defense can step up and do enough like they usually have in most of these wins the Jets have been getting. To me, it's gonna be a close game, but I really think the Jets can do enough to take down the Patriots and not get swept again.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree once again. I got New York winning this one. I just have a gut feeling they would win. I also have another good feeling. I feel like this is the game especially against a division rival where Zach Wilson finally finds his rhythm with the Jets and does well actually, and it's really going to be important finally getting back to a groove somehow coming playoff time, because Zach Wilson cannot get it together when it comes to playoffs. Jets are going to be first round exits, but yes, I'm going for the Jets in this game. The next game, it's going to be an ugly game. Pretty much halfway through our 10 a.m. games, the Rams at the Saints. This game is pretty hard to depict in the sense that both the teams are really bad right now. But obviously, from the way the Rams are looking, I'm gonna go with the Saints, and I would always I would assume that you won't blame me for this, but this is gonna be the one out of 3 games where Andy Dalton pops off just randomly against the team, and then obviously the next week he's going back to being bad. But again, another feeling that Andy Dalton's gonna pop off this game against the Rams, so I'm sticking with New Orleans.
With the Cardinals, I would have understood, but the Saints, that's something. I'm gonna have to go with the Rams here. Obvious disagreement, but I mean, sure, there's struggles. I mean, I'm thinking Stafford will probably be back for this one, so we won't have to go through the pain of watching John Wolford. But I mean, sure. I mean, there's 2 really struggling teams, but to me, that Saints defense is, obviously, I'm sure most times they're pretty good, but right now they're really subpar. Not expecting a good game from them, and just the offense. I would not expect Andy Dalton to go off against this defense, which, as they look bad last week, sure, but they're still an elite defense. I mean, I don't have much to say. I'm just really, I would expect the Rams to. I mean, this obviously wouldn't rejuvenate the season, but it's enough to at least give them a little jolt. A pretty big, I'd say a big win here. Probably like anywhere from 14 to 20 points. Kind of give us something to root for this season, because the next week after this we're gonna have a pretty good beat down against the Chiefs. So I'll expect a good win here at least. And we'll move on. We got somewhat of an intriguing matchup with the Lions and the Giants. I would honestly expect this to be pretty close, but I still have to say the Giants. It's I would not expect the Lions to come out on top on this one. Don't know why this is such a surprise to you, but to me, I mean, come on, I'm pretty sure Saquon's just gonna run all over that abysmal Lions defense, if we're being honest, and even Daniel Jones will probably have a field day. Goff will probably have a good day himself, but I mean, it's with that Lions defense, I have to say that the Giants come away with probably a good 5-point victory here.
A part of me really wants to pick the Lions. I really want to pick the Lions for an upset. I really want to. I just want to pick the Lions so bad. It hurts me. But that defense is abysmal. It sucks. And that's what's keeping me from picking them. Because of that, I'm gonna have to go with the Giants. Once again, I have to go with the Giants. It hurts me that I really want the Lions, but realistically, it's gonna be the Giants. Now we're going to our next game, almost closing out our 10 a.m. games, but Carolina Panthers at Baltimore. Another self-explanatory game. I got Baltimore coming here. I feel like Lamar is just gonna run all over Carolina and just put on the clinic for them.
Yeah, easily. I'm gonna have to agree with you again, especially against. I mean, I do say the Panthers defense is, I mean, they're all right. Obviously with Brian Burns and a bunch of those guys, but still, I mean, it's the Ravens. I don't really think they're on that level, and especially the Ravens defense, they're getting better and better by the week. So they're gonna. I mean, whether the Panthers trot out PJ Walker or Baker Mayfield, it's gonna be a pretty wide margin here. I would expect another a pretty big Ravens blowout here. So let's move on to our final morning game of Week 11. We got Commanders at the Texans. 2 pretty disappointing teams here. I'm gonna expect the Texans to go back down and lose another one here, stay at 1 win on the year, the Commanders. I mean, they're coming off a pretty big win against the Eagles, obviously knocking them off their undefeated pedestal, and against the Texans team, I really expect Taylor Heineke to keep it going. Just have another solid game. Even Brian Robinson really run all over this Texans defense.
Yeah, it's another pretty self-explanatory game. Washington's really stepping it up right now. Taylor Heineke is really probably the piece they're missing, but I got Washington win this one against Houston. Houston just has no hope in them. Next game, we have another pretty boring game. The Raiders at the Broncos. We know how the Raiders are with beating the Broncos, but from the looks of how the Raiders are, a part of me wants to say Raiders and a part of me wants to say Broncos. It's just really hard to decide because these are two really bad teams. But I'm going to have to go with Denver Broncos on this one. I have to go with the Broncos again, beating Raiders finally. I just don't think Raiders are going to put on anything. If anything, Devontae Adams might obviously go off once again. But other than that, really nothing else is going to happen. The Raiders defense is probably going to struggle once again. But I'm going to pick the Broncos on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you with this too. I mean, I went so long, keep saying that I believe the Raiders were a better team than the Broncos. I'm just going to eat my words and, admit that I was pretty wrong there. As much as the season keeps going, it just grows and grows more, just how you see how bad this Raiders team really is. And I don't know, I expected this team to finally get clicking. Obviously not make the playoffs, but, at least click. And they obviously haven't really done anything towards that. So, as bad as the Broncos have been, I'm gonna expect them to beat this team. It's gonna be a mid-off. Just one of those games. But yeah, give me the Broncos here. And obviously, Christian, we got your game next to kick off the afternoon slate. We got the Cowboys at the Vikings. You're not gonna like this, but it's the Vikings, man. It's Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson.
I'm not mad. I'm literally not mad at all whatsoever.
I'm gonna have to go with the Vikings, man. They are the best team in the NFC. They're at this point, they are my Super Bowl favorite. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Vikings. Close game, sure, because obviously it's two great teams facing off here, but I'm gonna have to say the Vikings probably by a touchdown.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not upset that you're picking the Vikings. I'm genuinely not. It's understandable. But I'm still sticking with my Cowboys. Man. I love my boys no matter how much they disappoint me, no matter how much they make me cry, no matter how much they make me mad. I feel like that Packers game is really going to fuel that whole team. And it's really going to show them that they should have won that game. And it's going to fuel them badly. And it's going to want them to close out this whole season with victories on everything. So that's really going to be their chip on their shoulder. So that's why I'm going to pick my Cowboys. Dak Prescott finally going to get his full bounce back finally. I just really hope that defense fixes it. Really, our only miscue is that run defense. If that run defense is not fixed, which I really hope it's soon, it's really not going to be bad. Dalvin Cook is going to run all over us. But it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a very close game, but I have big, strong hopes that my Cowboys finish strong on this one. Really hope. All right, just about to close up our Sunday slate games. We have our last 1:25 p.m. game, which is Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This game, in my opinion, obviously, I feel like it's one-sided. Cincinnati's going to get away with this victory, especially with the absence of Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is out with an injury. Jamar Chase is just going to cook that secondary, and it's going to be really going to be put on a clinic for these Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's why I'm going to pick Cincinnati to get this victory.
Yeah, easily gonna have to agree with you there. Obviously, in the first matchup of the year, I did take the Steelers, but things have changed since then. Easily gonna have to say Joe Burrow just cooks the Steelers defense, as you said, without Minkah. It's gonna be pretty one-sided, honestly. And moving on, we got our Sunday nighter, which I don't know. We got to see the Chargers at Sunday night again, but hey, that's what we're getting. We got the Chiefs at the Chargers. Also pretty easy call here. I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs. I mean, it would be a great matchup, like we had that Thursday nighter in week 2, but you see the run of form the Chargers have had. It's just really poor, obviously, especially with the injuries that they got. seems pretty one-sided. I'm gonna have to say the Chiefs. No, not too close, but far from a blowout.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm going to have to agree with you once again. These Chiefs looking really great. And these Chargers, again, during inconsistency, is really holding them down to go further along with the season. And this game's really going to be a bummer for them. So Kansas City is really going to stampede over these Chargers. So obviously closing out Week 11 with their Monday Nighter in Mexico. A Mexico game. The San Francisco 49ers at Arizona Cardinals. Now, obviously, with the struggling of the Arizona Cardinals after coming out with a victory without their starting quarterback, in San Francisco, they've been looking good right now. Jimmy G looking okay. That defense at San Francisco is pretty decent right now, and really, as of right now, it's going pretty decent for these Niners. But against these Cardinals, another division rival, so obviously division games are more important, especially when we're already halfway through the season and it's closing time. It's really more important. So San Francisco is going to get this, I would say, pretty comfortable win against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I wouldn't say comfortable, but I will say that the Niners come out on top. Not too much else to be said. I mean. So we'll see how much the Cardinals grow after this win against my Rams. It seems like everyone just picks up a win against us, and they start to fix up their season like the Bucs did last week. So I don't know. We'll see. Obviously in the wonderful Estadio Azteca. Well, I'm really looking forward to watching this on Monday night. Obviously in our homeland, of course. So. That's gonna wrap up our Week 11 preview. Well, obviously, just really, really great football been played in this 2022 season. As you said, we're a little over halfway done with it. Seems like it's come by so quick. Now, 10 weeks down. I believe it's 8 weeks to go. So let's just keep it rolling. That's basically gonna wrap up this episode, of course. As always, we thank everyone that's stuck around, that watches our hour-plus long full episodes, and we'll, for me, we'll see you guys on Sunday. I guess, Christian, anything from you?
No, nothing else. Besides, we just like to thank all you guys for sticking around with us. Just to do talk football, what we like to do. And I'm glad me and David stuck with this. We'll just see how it is when coming to the closure of the season, and that pretty much wraps up everything. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you guys on Sunday for Sunday chat.